Oh, stuff is in the way. Oh, you move this out of the way. It's always weird because this is so backwards for us. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can't touch it because it goes whatever. Are we live? I guess we are live. It's been a while. I think the last time we came back live, we were talking about your medical problems. That was in February. Yes. And since then, Rudy has definitely gotten a lot better. You want to tell them on your updates, baby?
No, you can do that.
Oh, okay.
It takes certain clearly.
I don't, but okay. So Rudy's doing a lot better health-wise. We have since both got and received our COVID vaccines. We've done those. But we are still always having the same conversation about money and money issues. And you guys all know throughout my career, I've been very honest about my money issues, my money struggles. My relationship with money has always been very tumultuous. And when I met Rudy, it was exposed. And Rudy, I think, took great pleasure in exposing my money issues because I never spoke of them. It was never a conversation we ever started. It was never something I brought up. It was never something I was forthcoming about. So when we started to look at getting married and having him come into the business and do all these other things, it was something that you would say you forcefully made me do.
Yeah, I didn't take any pleasure in it. I was shocked when I first got a glimpse of the financial situation of a certain Stephanie Laynes.
What do you mean shocked? What are you talking about?
Would you like to recount the story when you had me?
Right, but that was the business stuff. I never showed you the personal.
And I wouldn't be clever enough to deduct if the business looks like that the personal would be totally different.
Well, here we are.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's the biggest lesson is that I eventually showed you everything.
Yes, and what's the first thing I did? Put you on all the cards.
True. So let's be very honest because when I met Rudy, my credit score was probably 550, if that. I had had some very bad relationships with credit cards. I had very bad relationships with handling money, overdrafts. I think every possible thing that you can do to mess up your relationship with financial institutions, banks, credit ratings, all of that happened with me. So Rudy decided to go ahead and put me on to all of his credit cards, which I was more than happy to become a partner on.
Mm-hmm.
But I also did not change my spending habits. I didn't change anything that I did. And that was now 5 years ago. 6.
Almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years ago. And so we finally decided, really right when COVID hit, to really kind of tackle my money problems and my money issues. We had already started the journey before. Rooney had been very specific on how we spend money, how we look at cash. I came back from Business Summit 2019 talking about separating out and having different accounts. And so I started a little bit kind of being interested in it, which was a really big thing for me because I really have never been interested in the accounting side of business. I've always been interested in spending money. I've always been interested in making money, but I never really was interested in the in-between. Not realizing the in-between is the most important part when you're a business owner, because if you don't understand how your money moves from A to B, then you really just don't have true discipline.
And what your credit rating looks like, because that's what the world sees, but for better or for worse. You know, when it comes to decision made, when it comes to acquisitions made, they look at your credit score. That's just the way it is. So it is important tool, and that's what it is. It is a tool. It needs to be used.
And it's a tool that I did not want to use. And I'm very honest in that. As many of you know, it took me 10 years to pay myself as a business owner, not realizing that there's a lot of emotions that come around dealing with money. And it's not necessarily the lack of money. It's more of, how do I be responsible with it? And the thing is that my dad has always been very responsible with it, but I've always had a negative connotation with his responsibility. I was so anti-writing checks. Every Sunday, my dad, still to this day, balances his checkbook down to the penny. I was always like, why do I need to balance my checkbook? As long as I know how much is in there, it shouldn't matter, right? And so when COVID hit, Rudy and I really decided to, one, not really have a lot of debt, but be very intentional on what we were doing to build wealth.
Strategic.
Strategic.
I think that's the big word, strategic.
Right. And Rudy, if you know, is very cheap. He's okay with going the cheap route. We already shared on our second date that he took me to the 99-cent store. He's extremely frugal. He's very tight with money. He doesn't really want to spend money unnecessarily. And I'm the type where if I see it and I have money, I'll buy it. I really don't, still to an extent, I really don't fret over the cost of it. If I have enough money, I'm going to pay for it. So when COVID hit, we had really discussed about the kind of debt we needed to carry. And if you listen to any of the money gurus, they always say car debt is the most wasted debt. Secondly is credit card debt. And then, what's the third one?
House debt.
Well, then house. So we really decided once COVID came in to really look at our finances and figure out how could we get debt free the fastest. And the first that we did, that we unloaded as far as debt, was car note. And we did that within a year.
Mm-hmm.
So Rudy had bought a car. He was in a car accident. We had insurance pay us out. We still took a little bit of money to get a car. Rudy paid it off, and it was paid off at the end of last year, 20. So then we looked at our credit card debt. And then the credit card debt for me, and I'm just going to speak for me and then I'll let Rudy talk, has always been a backup to the business. So my personal debt has always been tied to my business. And that has been since I started being a solopreneur, which was in 2005. So it's been quite a while, 16 years, that I've always attached my personal debt to my business. So if my business was doing well, then my personal debt was low. When the business didn't do well, my personal debt went high, because it was kind of my safety net, was my personal debt was the safety net. So when Rudy came along and joined the business, he just really didn't understand how I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. He didn't understand how I was taking money out of the business. He didn't understand how I did finances. And there really was no rhyme or reason. But I also never had to answer to anyone. So it was really hard for me to open up to him in that way, because I think that's a level of intimacy that it's different, because now you have to go and dig into your why. Why do you spend that way? Why do you look at money this way? And why do you feel it's okay to function in this type of madness with no rhyme or reason, but you're not winning at the end of the day? And I felt really when Rudy came to me before we even got married, it was an attack. And so my knee-jerk response was like, who the hell are you coming in telling me I have functioned all this time and nothing has been wrong? It's worked for me. Overdraft fees are write-offs. I had all of these excuses for not being accountable. And Rudy really made me be accountable, really for everything. And things that I felt I did not need to explain. And I'll say this very honestly. Yes, I'm the CEO. Yes, I'm the owner. Yes, Rudy and I own the business together. Yes, we are business partners. We are married. I don't think we can get any closer in any type of a relationship than the relationship that we have together. But I still kept money out of all of it. And I kept money out of all of it because I never really dealt with my money problems. Whether it was self-inflicted or someone inflicted them on me. So it was easy for me to go back to that space of it's so and so's fault. It's so and so's fault. I've had to make moves in this way because someone else was trying to come after me. And in unwinding that through therapy, through Rudy being very patient, I found that my responses with money was more of an emotional trauma than really understanding what I was doing. So to base it all out, my ex-husband was terrorized me, and I say it, financial abuse, all the other abuses that you can think of, but specifically in that because I was the sole breadwinner. So anything that I did, so he wanted to take. And so my trauma was always trying to find a way to survive, but do it, in different ways. So my family has always been to the rescue. Like, my dad put the car in his name. My sister opened a business account or a business credit card just so that I can have it. My mom opened a second business credit card just so nothing was in my name. And so when I really started looking at the bigger picture with that, I was working under the table because there was always someone after me, right? So when we fast forward and Rudy comes in, Rudy doesn't know any of this. I think I just told him, was it last year? Last year, I really sat down and just said, have you ever wondered why, my mom did this way and my sister is intricated this way and dad's name is on the car? Like, have you ever really wondered why I've done that? He still really said no. He was like, no, I haven't really, you didn't know. And so I really just kind of broke everything down and said, this is why I've done things in this way. What did you think about that?
Yeah. No, well, the thing is, it made sense because of the situation that you were in. But what it also means or meant is that you were, for all your business life up to that, treading water. That's all you were doing. You were treading water with water up to your chin.
Right.
It's working, but you're not getting ahead. It's literally your water's here and you're treading water. You have kind of a slush fund in there, and this and this and goes and this and there. And then, of course, also if you have everybody else's name, but nothing in your name, again, you can't build anything.
Right.
You can't build anything on your name. You cannot show anything in the end. And that's why I said the word strategic is really, really important. So when we sat down at the beginning of last year, and we said, okay, what are our debts? We have the new car. This is the card, then we have this credit card, then we have this credit card, right? So what's the best way, what's the most strategic way to work with this? And then we decided, okay, first thing we're going to do is pay off the car. So the credit cards were paid minimum, or a bit above minimum, whatever was there, but you concentrate on paying off the car. As soon as the car is paid off, now we're going to pivot, and we're going to say, okay, this credit card is next. We're going to fix this credit card, which happens to be your credit card. Because the other thing that we did was, even though I put her on all my credit cards in the beginning, which helped a little bit with the treading water, absolutely, but it's still, is helping. It's not really doing significant steps. So what we then did, we separated credit card, meaning that there's a credit card that's in your name, and then there's one in mine. And we then I concentrated the payments on Stephanie's credit card. Paid it off, and are now in a position that the card gets paid off every month. We're doing a little bit above the thing, we're doing a little every week, so there's never a big sum that the card is in debt. Once that was gone, then we concentrated on the remaining card, which was mine. We had a lot of money on there because from when we moved to our house, which is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When you know you're moving to a new house, all of these little stuff, all these little things start cropping up.
The washer and dryer died, and
all these little things. So we put that on a card. So I had a debt on a card from that I've been carrying for 2 years. Been paying on it, but now been actively paying it off. So we're now in a situation where we don't have car notes at this point. We're now in a situation where the credit cards that we have get paid off, and Stephanie can, has her name all of a sudden, meaning she has a name to the world, to the credit bureaus, so she can look up her credit score, and it's a pretty decent credit score all of a sudden.
So, going back to the credit score, 583 when we met, right, which is not great. Even when I tried to apply for credit, I wasn't able to get it because I didn't understand the credit game, right?
And it is a game.
And it's a huge game. So Rudy, as loving as he is, put me on all of his cards, right? Which in my defense was another level of protection, right? And when I got onto his cards, I started noticing my score going up. And I'm like, oh, I've never had this high of a score. So when it hit 700, right, I'm like, oh, hey, I've arrived. I have a 700 score. It took me into my 40s to get it, but I've arrived. And so as of late, and just to be very honest, Rudy's score is very high. He's at an 820 right now, 825. So his credit score is 825. And we have really looked at exactly what we're going to be doing now, right? And let's talk about the business, because I think that when you get to a certain point in your business and you have not understood not only the credit score game, but really the money game, you don't understand how businesses really utilize the revenue to a level. Put it like this: when I started my business, I was a sole proprietor, and being a sole proprietor, I did not realize I was paying the highest rate of taxes, right, as a sole proprietor. When we moved to Texas, we converted to an LLC, which is a limited liability, which took a little bit of liability off us. If something ever happened, we wouldn't necessarily lose our home, but we still had our Social Security numbers tied to it, right? 2 years ago, we finally decided to move to a S Corp. And once we moved to a full corporation, then we really had the business working for us, right? So not only do we pay ourselves weekly, we pay ourselves bonuses, we have all of these things that are in the infrastructure of a corporation. And so once we moved to a level of a corporation, we started understanding that a lot of people who own corporations, you make so much more money. And the reason you make so much more money is because not only are you getting profits on what the business does, you pay yourself as an employee, and then we also have our 401k, which is our retirement, tied in, which we also match. So the business matches what we put in, which are all things that you can do under an S Corp. And then we're also not paying self-employment tax, which is also very important. When you're a sole prop in your LLC, you're paying pretty high percentages in self-employment tax. So what we do is we are employees of our business. We're a corporation, so as owners, we're able to get bonuses based off of revenue, and then we no longer pay self-employment tax. So, when you start understanding the money game when it comes to businesses, it really changes the way your money is made, right? So our bonuses are based off of the profit. We are paid salary for the work that we've done, but we've been able to really understand how does that impact our personal, because again, I've always tied my personal income, my personal credit score, my personal credit cards to the business. So when we became a corporation and we separated everything, I am now truly an owner that gets profits based off of revenue and a salary. So that changed the way we were able to look at our income and then also tackle the debt that has always been tied to Smooth Skin. Always. Once we did that.
And again, just to say, that's not a bad thing. Every business
No,
has
it's not,
debt.
but that's a lot of time.
Every business has debt, and that's just the normal way, especially when you start up and in the beginning.
Right.
But you got to learn.
You got to let it go.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So when I started Smooth Skin in 2005, we just now let go of all of the debt tied from Smooth Skin 2005 all the way up to 21. So it's taken me 16 years to truly release that load, that luggage, that baggage, all of that. I will always say the best thing I ever did was become an entrepreneur. The best thing I did, obviously, was marrying the love of my life, bringing him into the business, not just his support, but his understanding of money way differently than me, but also realizing exactly what it is I was holding on to for so long. And now that we don't have it, I tell him and I tease him all the time, I'm like, you don't know what to do. Do you know that we're debt free? I now have an 800 score. Rudy's still ahead of me, so now we go back and forth, but I'm always trying to get, I don't think I'll ever catch him, but I'm always like, I can get a higher score than you. So now we just kind of sit like,
Well, we still have a house.
we still have a house note, but it's a different type of relaxation. Because when you're an owner, your constant push is to always provide. When you have employees, you want to make sure always they get paid. We have things, obviously, that we enjoy and things that we're responsible for. Laynes, obviously, is another big expense in her dances, which we love, and she loves, but it's not cheap. So when you look at, releasing that amount of debt and now sitting back, it's like, okay, so what do we do now? And it's very different. Crystal, self-employment tax is paid every time you file, yes. So that's the one thing that I think I really would have, I wish I would have known when I started the business, the best way to be a business entity that would be beneficial for me. I always knew I was going to grow. I always knew I was going to make more money and grow and grow and grow. What I didn't take into account as a business owner is how do I not carry as much debt, and also what is the best way to run the business without having to pay a whole lot of taxes or a lot of self-employment tax. Because people don't talk about self-employment tax. People don't talk about S-corps. People don't talk about LLCs. We don't break it down so that it's in layman's terms so we understand how it's beneficial. We did get disbursements as an LLC, but it's a little bit different than the way we're doing it under the S-corp. And for businesses that are corporations, like I said, the business is paying for their lifestyle. And we don't really explore that. We as solopreneurs, people who have never been raised in the business, you're not around a lot of business people all the time to learn business lingo and savviness. We never really hear the term of allowing the business to work for you instead of you working the business. We've come to a level now where the business truly works for us. And in the short amount of years that we've only really 2 years have been a corporation, have really focused on exactly what we wanted to do. I never thought changing to a corporation would allow us to become debt free. I did not see that. I definitely didn't see it in COVID, and I definitely didn't see that with the type of economy that we have. But I think once we really made up our mind to understand the business, do what we need to do in the business to make it to a level where we could live comfortably, but also reap the rewards of the business. It's very different. I wish there was a lot more people discussing this in this way. I do know that Maxine Drake is really kind of was the catalyst that opened my mind when we went to the Business Summit in 2019. In her group, which I'm in, they do talk about profit first all the time. Profit first is that same method. That teaching has 7 different bank accounts. We really only have 2 different bank accounts for the business, but it really starts to allow you to see where your money is going. And it wasn't until I really started breaking it down with Rudy and saying, okay, so if we do this in this way, this is what we can yield. And then when the yield came, now we just look at each other like, oh.
Yeah, because now you got to make another plan.
Right.
Now you got to make another plan. And just an additional thing is, also, you got to spend a considerable amount of time on the business side of your business.
Yeah.
It is great that you know the newest techniques and the newest products and how to do and how to talk to your customers and retain your customers and all of that good stuff. But if the business side is not solid, if you do not know the ins and outs of your business, you're coming back to that water trading.
Yeah.
That's where that goes, and you will never get ahead.
Yeah.
Because if you are solid on your business, you have a totally different interaction with banks, lenders, other businesses, suppliers, for instances. It is a totally different game when you are business savvy and you come from a position of strength because you know where your money goes. You have done the right thing to invest, and it's as simple. And it's simple stuff. It's not just like we're throwing around big words and business and LLC and all of these other stuff. It is very, very simple things, like Stephanie figuring out how to buy differently.
Yeah.
I think you brought that up last time. I would like you just to say that again.
Yeah.
That you finally figured out to.
I think it was to curb expenses. So, instead of ordering every month, we order every quarter. Instead of ordering small, I now go super big. So really, it's understanding your ebbs and flows in your business, but it's also how the money leaves the business, which is, it's really hard when you have money problems to sit down and look at in a month or in a week, what exactly are you spending on, and is that money-making activity? Meaning, whatever I'm buying, can I actually make a certain amount of money that's profitable as well? Right? I want to answer Crystal. So Crystal, you're an LLC, you file as an S Corp, and you thought you should downgrade. No. So business and accounting is definitely something, and I commend you for going back to school to understand it. You want to make sure you're not paying self-employment tax, which is high. From my understanding, I think we're at 31%, something like that. So think about it, every dollar you make, you're spending 31 cents goes to taxes. And don't quote me on the number, but it's something like that, 31, 32, something like that. So, understanding your business, the tax responsibilities you have, your expenses, and then your revenue. So I don't really look at revenue first. I actually look at my expenses first. That's why I really have no problems doing price increases, or I have no problems looking at multiple ways to earn income under the business. But I also think that there's a lot of people who are so focused on what they do that they don't see any way out. I created Smooth Skin Supply as additional income to Smooth Skin because Smooth Skin was based on who walked into my door. Smooth Skin was based off of a clock, whether I worked from 9 to 5, 9 to 7, it still had a beginning and an end. Smooth Skin Supply being online is 24 hours, 7 days a week. It never closes. So it's always constantly opportunity to make money. So, I really was honest in saying I could only do so much with my hands. I could only do so much while the business is open. But what can I do on a 24-hour clock and not what I physically have to do with seeing people day in and day out? So when I opened my mind to that and then was able to segue smaller different ways of making money within Smooth Skin Supply was really when the light bulb really came off. So I commend you for going back to school. And Nellie says, self is no hard to get a house and a car. It is, it's responsibility, right? Pat said, your honesty is refreshing. You're right in that more people should speak and teach these principles. You have to know your business to stay in business has been your motto since you stepped out on your own. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that we really don't want to talk about because there is so much stigma behind money, right? We all know at the end of the day, in order for us to survive, we somehow, some way have to have income. What we don't want to do, though, is we don't want to break it down. What is our personal issues with money and what is keeping us and holding us back from our potential of making money? My issue was never making money. I've always been able to make money. I've always been able to sell. I've always been able to do these things. My issue was how do I control the money that I have and control the way it leaves or the spending? How do I control my spending habits? How do I become a better spender? How do I become a better efficient spender? And do I really need to spend or do I want to spend? Like being able to justify that. So when I started justifying that to Rudy, it became something that I had to think about before I came to him, because it wasn't about him being upset. It wasn't about him saying no, even though he says no to things. We already know I'm going to do what I want to do. But it was the fact that I still had to make an effort to go to him. He's my accountability partner. And Rudy is the type of person, as you know, he's so very calm. He pretty much already knows what I'm getting ready to say before I really say it. If I come to him with a certain look on my face, like, it's done. I mean, there's nothing to change. But when you have someone who can keep you accountable, it becomes something that I have to think about. I'll never forget when I started the impulse, the spending, and then just the habit, because I don't necessarily need it. And that's one thing that I've really gotten very great at, even with being with him. And I'm very honest, Rudy, he's not a big shopper. He doesn't buy a whole lot of clothes. He doesn't buy a whole lot of shoes. He's very frugal. He will spend money on food. That's about it. But other than that, he's really not going to spend any money. And so I started noticing even myself, every now and then I'll start buying clothes. But when I started looking at how I treated my personal life versus the business, I could come to the business and just spend like this, right? No rhyme or reason, no thought process, no, well, why did you buy it in that way? Regardless if we needed it or not, but I didn't spend it smart. I didn't understand how to buy, when to buy, and the amount so that I spent less instead of spending more. For example, we have some people that tend to purchase with us every week. They pay for shipping every week.
Just going to bring that up.
They buy very small and they purchase every week because they need it, right? Same thing with you in business. When you look at how you spend, why not spend more so that you don't have to? Because you spend more when you're buying every week than if you bought enough for 2 months. You save on shipping, you save on the quantity per item. Like, really take the time to understand your spending and then sit down and look, okay, I spent this amount, but if I spent this amount, I actually would have gotten more product. No different than anything else. And so when I really, and it was, I would say COVID was really kind of my, like, I got to do some things different. Like, we can't be in a situation where there's a catastrophe and a pandemic and we have so many unknowns. And being the control freak that I am, it clicked for me then, like, there's no reason why we should have this much debt and we make this much money. So if we do this, then we can do this. And Rudy, of course, is always on board, but I think it was almost like you're waiting for me to finally see the light. Like, come on.
Because it's different if you come to this realization than me just going, okay, this is how we do it, because it's a totally different dynamic and it comes from a different.
Well, and I'm not going to listen to you when you come at that.
Exactly.
I'm over here looking around he knows it, because it has to be me on my own. Like, I literally have to come to that aha moment. It can't come from him in that way. Even though he's tried to embarrass me. He's tried to loud talk me. He's tried to do all these different things, and it immediately got my back up to my reflex response with no thinking, no sitting down and saying, well, maybe he's not right because he came at me sideways. No. It was the outside forces making me sit down with myself, and then me coming to Rudy and saying, I think we should do some things differently. Like, this is how much we make in a month. Let's go backwards. Let's keep the revenue over there, but let's look at exactly what we're spending. And let's see where we can cut. Let's see where we can spend more in quarter one and then not have to get it again until quarter three. Let's see how we could get certain expenses down. Like, so many different things that I just was not willing to look at as a business owner, because it was tied to the emotional response to money. And as sad as it is, I think I'm the better for it, though. I don't think if I had this type of knowledge when I first started the business, I don't necessarily know if I would have stuck with it. I don't think I would have, because part of the tenacity and the fire was to fake it until I made it. It was completely emotional. And it was to prove certain people wrong. It was to, prove to myself. It was to, prove to my family, as much as they love me, they still just cannot understand the entrepreneurial spirit. In some ways, it was proven to Rudy, because it took a little bit of us going back and forth for him to finally see my entrepreneurial spirit and vision. And we would have really just fights, and I'm just like, I don't understand why you don't see this way. Why can't you see what I'm seeing? Like, why are you so just about, the money? Why can't you just, because Rudy, and I'll never forget the conversation we had when we were trying to figure out, right in March of 2019, right? COVID hit in 2020, COVID hit, and we were trying to figure out exactly what we wanted to do with the business. We had to let every employee go. Him and I were doing everything ourselves, which we knew we really couldn't, because we were at a point and we were so busy, we really could not do everything ourselves. That was definitely impossible. Still do what we were doing, I was doing with Celine. It just was really impossible, but we did it anyway. But we knew we had to do something different. And I think that was really, for me, and I'll say for me, not Rudy necessarily, but I think for me, that was almost Rudy's Canada. That was my Canada. Mm-hmm. So that to the point now where, we have a savings, we have a retirement, we have all of these things. And for me, it was about a year, it's some year and a change, to really say, the money was never the issue. The lack of money was never the issue. Making money was never the issue. What do I do with it? And I don't think people are really willing to have those intimate conversations, because that is a hard place to go when there is no known. It's unknown. Business owners truly don't know what they're making day to day. You can even have a full book that's booked out for months. You really don't know until that person shows up if you're going to earn income. So the income part is unknown. that has never been a struggle for me. I always know getting up somehow, some way, every day I'm going to bring home money. That is one of the mantras that I do. It's one of my things. So that's never been my issue. My issue is, am I doing what I'm supposed to do with it? Am I a great keeper of what I have been given? Which is deep. Because now we're talking beyond money. We're not talking about money anymore. We're talking about not only how do I look at myself, not only how I look at what I've been given, but am I a great person? Am I doing well with it? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do with it? Or have I let my emotions control me and do what I want to do and not what I'm supposed to do? And that's where a lot of the emotions come up, which why when I have conversations with people about money, it's so emotional. And I understand because I was very emotional for a long time with it. But it really wasn't about the lack of. It wasn't because we didn't make money. It's that internal struggle that a lot of people don't really ever overcome.
And just to clarify, when she says, what am I supposed to do, that doesn't mean what am I supposed to do, what other people think. What am I supposed to do to get ahead?
Right.
And get financially healthy.
Right.
Just to clarify that.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's a difficult place to be in, right? And now when you get to a point where you've done the things, right? We've my goal was always to get an 800 credit score. We're there. Our goal was to be completely debt free. No personal debt, no credit card debt, nothing, right? We're there. Our goal was to pay off all the cards that we have. We're there. Now we're like, okay. Because the fight that's in me, not necessarily Rudy, but for me, now I need something else to work for. I need a goal for something else. And so we have a goal. We're looking at purchasing another house once Celine graduates. So we have 3 years to figure out exactly what we're going to do. We're expanding our location here, which is going to take, obviously, money, right? We're bringing in new staff, which costs money. But we're in a place where it's not coming from an unknown. It's a comfortable place. And I'll be honest and say, it's interesting when you look at things and you're like, okay, you have nothing over you. I know what it's like to carry a lot of debt, not just personal, but personal and business. I know exactly what it feels. I know what the weight feels like on your shoulders. I know what it's like to look at that credit card bill that comes in the mail. I know what it's like to look at a bill and you're like, oh my God. I understand what it is. I think where I'm relieved is that I did not, and Rudy and I did not hesitate on the process. We were extremely diligent about the process. And if you don't have someone that can keep you accountable to be diligent on it, and I mean strict to the T. Like Rudy, every time we get paid, Rudy's on it. I'll ask a question and just be like, okay, so did you pay this and pay? Of course. Well, did you pay? Of course. Okay, well. Okay. And it's a momentous feat. I'll say that. Because I definitely never thought in a million years my credit score would be over 800. Never. I've never not carried debt. I've carried debt probably since 24, 25. So 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have that feeling of desperation anymore. I think that's something that there's always some desperation in there.
Yeah.
There's always some, that makes you feel a little bit, I don't know if it's going to work out this month. I don't know if this is going to go. And that's
that was normal for me though.
And that's normal for a lot of people.
That's normal.
And that's a lot of, for a lot of people. And, we had Donna Carey said that she is now also buying 2 for 2 to 3 months. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's small things, but it's a smarter way to do it.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody who buys once a month or buys once a week because that's the money they have coming in, now I have some money in my hand, and I'm going to buy some product, I'm going to turn around and use it, and then next week it's gone, and I'm going to go get.
Right.
You come into this vicious cycle again, and
Rudy doesn't really understand. Even when we have people that come, he's always like,
and you're treading water, and I understand that you, but at some point you got to figure out this is not the way to go. This is not. I got to do something. I'm going to have to borrow that extra $100 from this person. I'm going to be able to buy a month in advance, 2 months in advance. That's going to get me X amount more dollars at this point. And then when I come back and reinvest, oh my God, we're doing steps all of a sudden.
Which is why we have Afterpay, which is why I truly have said Afterpay is an amazing. I never had an Afterpay when I was in business. Afterpay is a no fees, no credit check credit option. I mean, and they let you pay over time, and there's no, fees attached to it. I mean, I think it's the best thing for business owners. It's one of the reasons why I've had it for so long for our business owners, to get them to understand. I give out a lot of hacks when I do trainings and get people to understand, here's how you buy to really maximize your dollar. A lot of people don't listen. Some of them, they do what they want to do, but at the end of the day, I really understand what it's like to be that struggling business owner. When you need a little bit of a help, when you need a little bit of understanding, because you are so focused on the business and you're working so hard and you're spinning your wheels sometimes. And when I do a training, I say, okay, here's some hacks. Here's how you can maximize it. With our marketing club, we give a phenomenal marketing membership because I understand what it's like to struggle. Our hardest part is getting people to understand we're giving you money back. It's really getting people kind of to get out of their way, almost. Get out of your own way. You're in your own way. I was in my own way for years. When Rudy first started talking to me about finances, I didn't hear him. I'm not hearing you. I've been a business owner all these years. I have been just fine. I've survived. I come to the table with money. But I'll never forget Angela Green is on when we used to do trade shows. Sometimes I was like, dang, I don't have enough cash or credit to pay for dinner, so let me take the profits that I just made and pay for dinner. I remember going to a trade show and maybe having $100 in our business account because we relied on that trade show to make us, quite a bit of money in 2 days. I remember all of these things. But again, if I didn't have these experiences, I really wouldn't be here. But I do think that at some point, you have to have an aha moment. For me, COVID-19 was my aha moment. And it was my aha moment to understand why not everyone was panicking. And I'm going to say this very specifically. Because, yes, we had a lot of people be impacted financially, but not everyone. And the people that were not don't really share why they were not financially impacted. It's funny because I'm on TikTok and I'm Rudy teases me because I tease Celine about being on TikTok. And I'm like, damn, I'll never be on TikTok. But I'm on TikTok and I'm learning all of these fascinating things about money, about real estate, how the rich live, right, quote unquote. And it's fascinating to see people openly talk about it because it is how some people live, right? I just showed Rudy something yesterday. Did I show you? We were talking about real estate and how. So the whole big thing, going right now is how Biden is supposed to increase on capital gains and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't understand what capital gains is. But there's a TikTok that's going around and saying that the people who are rich already don't work, so they're not really worried about it. You have 3 kinds of income. You have income you work for, you have income that you make, which is capital gains, and then you have income that is either trusted to you or that's already in the family, so you're not working. And it was an interesting take on money and taxes and why millionaires don't pay taxes. So it's interesting to really understand the money game because there's a huge game that a lot of us have been playing, but we don't know the rules, right? Amarette said, I like, it's like you're a fly on the wall in all our conversations Miguel and I have had that since we moved. Oh, I understand those type of, we've had lots of those. Donna said, I wasn't impacted. I'll comment, share later, but if COVID hit 5 or 6 years ago, I would have had it. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I'm interested in understanding the people who did not panic and the people who were okay. How are they okay? What is being diversified in wealth, right? What is the right way to make money? What is the right way? And I think a lot of us who come from a working class family have never had the opportunity to understand that side, right? Now that I'm starting to understand a little bit more, when I start to understand more, I'm starting to understand how people move and the reasons they move and why they move, right? It's fascinating. I don't think I would have been here if it wasn't for Rudy, I'll be very honest. If I was still single, working on my own, I would not be here. Two, I probably still would be in debt, and my credit score would never be close to 800 at all. And I think that's the thing that has been most impactful in business, is getting someone who may not understand the business, but they understand the things to do to get ahead. And as cheap as he is, there are certain things that he spends money on, or that I make him spend money on, or that I spend on money for him and say, oh, thank you, baby, for giving me this. You know, you were so sweet. You didn't even know. I don't know. But I do think you have to have a level of understanding and come to terms with your money issues. Nothing will change until you face that. And as hard as it is, as embarrassing as it is, as emotional, you got to do it. You got to do it. Like I said, I've written about my money problems. I have a whole workbook about my money problems. I've done many lives where I've talked about my money issues. And in all honesty, it was never the lack of money. It was my emotional response to money. It's being questioned about money. It's being accountable for what you've given, and then thinking about what you've given. You know, and we have this conversation now about Celine, my daughter. I definitely contribute my work ethic from my parents, definitely. Celine, on the other hand, has a kind of a little bit different work ethic. It's not tied to working. Her work ethic in dance, as you have all seen over the years, is amazing. If we ever could let her funnel that into other things, she would be just as amazing. But now we're taxed with trying to figure out, in raising her, you know, can we get her to be responsible? Can we get her to be to the level that she needs to be? Because Celine truly thinks that she can live the way mommy lives at the age of 14. And you know, when I was 14, I was trying to get some Guess jeans that my parents wouldn't buy. I was trying to buy things that my parents would refuse to give me. So that was kind of my work ethic. Like, I'll get it myself. My parents ain't gonna buy it. They're gonna go to Kmart and give me some Kmart clothes, and everybody gonna know I'm buying Kmart clothes. So when we start talking about Celine, you know, now it's a different kind of thing, because I don't want her to be that spoiled entitled diva. But as Rudy often reminds me, she's very much spoiled, very much entitled. And it's pretty much my fault, right, baby? See? But, you know, you always want to give your children what you didn't have. And sometimes it's to the detriment, right? But she still comes in and works. We still have her work. But I definitely know, and I can see down the line, as can Rudy, we're going to have some struggles when it comes to her and her level of wanting to live. Because she tries to live the way mommy lives. And it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. Amara said, I have one of those kids. Girl, I always hated Kmart. Me too, but I was up in Kmart. My mom had us dragging the blue light specials. Donna said, man, this is like me and my husband talking and sharing. Glad I caught you on my lunch. Oh, thanks, Donna. So I do think that when you start looking at tackling your business issues, the biggest one or the first one on your list should always be your money issues, and then the emotional issues tied to money. If you can tackle that, then you getting 3 and 4 bank accounts should be nothing. You understanding your business debt and personal debt should be nothing. You got to figure out what is holding you in that emotional state when it comes to money. Mine was not self-inflicted. It was someone else that was holding me, but I think I allowed that person to control everything that I did because I was always under the radar. And it got ugly. I mean, Rudy came in pretty much on the tail end of the ugliness, but got the understanding really quick. But I really didn't release how bad it got until just last year. And we have been married 5 years now. So even for me, it took me a while to understand that. And I do think that that journey taught me a lot, but I do think it also held me back. I think the emotions behind it, not dealing with the emotions behind it, really held me back. I'll never forget coming to Rudy, of course, crying. And I'm not a crier. So if you see me cry, it's a lot to get me there, right? So when I came to him and told him that I need to go to therapy, and of course he's like, is it me? I'm like, it's not you. It's me. I have to go. I have to really deal with this. I have to deal with the longevity of how it affects Celine, but I have to really get to the root of why it's affected me so long, physically, but emotionally. I have to go. And I did. I went to therapy almost 2 years, not realizing that my money decisions were tied up in it. It's just a big ball. It really is. And Nelly said, Rudy should do classes. You know how Rudy is. Even when I do classes here and I bring him in, he gets all red and he doesn't really want to talk. He talks, but because I make him. But, you know, Rudy's old school, though, too. He's pen and paper. He's not big. He's not big on computer stuff. He's old school. So we've been on for an hour, guys. We figured we would come back and talk to you about our money situation. We will do a little bit more updates when we do the expansion here, because that's going to be a big undertaking, which we're excited for, but it's a big undertaking. We're adding on another 3,500 square feet to our existing 35, so we'll be at 7,100 square feet, which is a lot of space to pay on. So we anticipate doing that June, July. So we'll definitely come back and talk about that journey as well. We're finally going to go on vacation. We're very excited about going on vacation. We're going to a beautiful, very small, high-end, as you know how I am, resort in Antigua. So we're very excited about that. Do we have private butler? I think we do, don't we? Yes. Anyway, so we'll be able to vacation this summer. So we have lots of stuff happening in the summer. So we'll come back again. But yeah, I truly think, you know, Rudy and I will talk about it. I'm not sure if we may just do like a blog or something where we come and really break down the whole money thing, because some of us got to tackle those money issues.
Just got to remember, it's a business. It is a business at the end of the day. As much as you love your clients, as much as you love the interaction and putting your hands on people, it is a business. This is how you make your money. You got to be strategic with your money. Otherwise, it's a glorified hobby.
It is. And Rudy has come a long way as well, because I would say he sees the vision now, but you still don't really see the vision, huh?
Well, but that's your stuff.
Yeah, see?
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, see, he still doesn't see it. He goes along with it because he's seen the benefits, but if I ever, like, position him to say, okay, babe, take this and run, won't happen. No. See? I'm the dreamer in the relationship. Rudy's is the analytics. He's the numbers person. He's the one that's like, okay, so where is this coming from, or what is this? And I'm like,
I'm the rock.
I got it. You're the rug, baby.
Rock. Mm.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please post below. We'll come back again here soon. Yeah, we'll come back again soon. Take care. Bye.